When most people hear Cinco de Mayo, they think of tacos, margaritas, music, and maybe a good excuse to throw a party. But behind the drinks and festivities is an incredible true story. One of grit, guts, and an underdog army that stunned the world and inspired a celebration that lives on today. To really appreciate Cinco de Mayo, we have to rewind over 160 years, back to a muddy battlefield in the heart of Mexico, where a scrappy group of soldiers and farmers stood up to one of the most powerful military forces on the planet. In the early 1860s, Mexico was a young country struggling to hold itself together. After winning independence from Spain in 1821, Mexico faced decades of political chaos, foreign invasions, and economic disaster. By the time President Benito Juarez came to power in 1858, the country was flat broke, worn down by wars and infighting. Facing crushing debt, Juarez made a bold decision. Mexico would suspend payments on its foreign loans for 2 years. Britain and Spain, though unhappy, decided to work things out diplomatically. France, on the other hand, had a much bigger plan. Under Napoleon III, France wanted to expand its empire into the Americas, seeing Mexico as the perfect stepping stone, especially since the US was tangled up in its civil war and couldn't intervene. So Napoleon sent 6,000 well-armed, well-trained French troops to take Mexico by force. By spring 1862, the French army was marching toward Mexico City, sure they'd roll over any resistance along the way. But between them and the capital stood Puebla, a city about 85 miles from Mexico City, and a thorn in their side they didn't expect. Puebla wasn't just another stop, it was a major cultural and economic hub, and its defense was critical. Waiting for the French was a much smaller Mexican force, about 4,000 soldiers and local volunteers, many of them indigenous people and farmers armed with outdated weapons. Leading them was General Ignacio Zaragoza, a determined leader who knew he was badly outnumbered but not outclassed. Zaragoza rallied his troops with a simple but powerful message: the national arms have been covered with glory. On May 5, 1862, the French launched their attack under a gray, rainy sky. Confident in their superior numbers and weapons, they charged up the muddy hills toward 2 key forts, perched above Puebla. But the Mexican defenders were ready. They unleashed musket fire and cannon blasts as the French struggled uphill. 3 times the French charged, and 3 times they were pushed back. The rain turned the slopes into a slippery mess, and the Mexican soldiers, fueled by determination and local knowledge, refused to give an inch. As the day wore on, Mexican cavalry, led by Colonel Porfirio Diaz, who would later become president, harassed the French flanks and disrupted their supplies. By late afternoon, the seemingly invincible French army was forced to retreat, leaving nearly 500 of their men dead on the field. Mexican casualties were far fewer, about 100. Against all odds, Mexico had stored a stunning victory. While the French would regroup and eventually take Mexico City a year later, the Battle of Puebla became a powerful symbol of Mexican resilience and unity. It was proof that determination and heart would stand up to imperial might. For President Juarez, the victory boosted national morale. For Mexicans, watching from across the US border, especially in California, where news traveled fast among miners and workers, it was a moment of pride and a celebration of freedom over foreign domination. Some historians even argue that Mexico's resistance at Puebla discouraged Napoleon III from offering aid to the Confederacy in the American Civil War, a ripple effect that might have influenced US history. General Zaragoza, though tragically killed by typhoid fever just months later, became a national hero. Today, the city where it all happened is officially called Puebla de Zaragoza in his honor. Here's the twist. In Mexico, Cinco de Mayo is mostly celebrated in Puebla, with military parades, civic ceremonies, and battle reenactments. For much of the rest of Mexico, May 5th is just another day on the calendar. In the United States, however, Cinco de Mayo has become a major celebration of Mexican heritage and culture, especially in cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, and San Antonio. It first caught on in the 1860s among Mexican-American communities who saw the victory at Puebla as a stand against oppression. By the late 20th century, the holiday had spread beyond those communities, thanks in part to marketers and companies eager to turn May 5th into a party. Over time, Cinco de Mayo evolved into a celebration of Mexican identity, blending pride, history, and yes, plenty of food and drink. Today, Cinco de Mayo is marked by lively parades, street fairs, mariachi concerts, folklore dancing, and food festivals. Traditional dishes like mole poblano, a rich chocolatey sauce said to have been invented in Puebla, take center stage along with tacos, tamales, and mountains of chips and guacamole. Interestingly, the holiday has even gone global, proof that the story of an underdog victory resonates far beyond Mexico.